The international community's last chance to stop this conflict in its tracks goes with them. Nearly 20 years.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Pamela Corey. I'm the Vice President and Head of Programming for Pound Ridge Land Conservancy, and I'm super pleased to welcome you to the first of our series of lectures that we've collaborated with the Pound Ridge Conservation Board with Melinda Avellino, who's our president of the Pound Ridge Conservation Board, and the library, who is one of our most wonderful assets in town, who works very much to make sure that we have a place to present these experiences. Tonight's topic is local seeds, nature's survival package. Now, before I talk about that, this is the first of a series of 4 lectures. The next one will be this fall on November 7th. We're going to have Jim Nordgren present Discovering the Magic of Pound Ridge Trees, also here at 7:30, Thursday, November 7th. Tonight's lecture is going to be presented by a team of experts in the field. First up, we have our local hero, Carrie Sears, who's a master and advanced master gardener and who knows so much. In 2012, she started the Pound Ridge Invasives Project to inform and let people know what the invasives are on their property and the impact of these invasives. She has made understanding and protecting and enjoying the environment her longstanding passion, and it shows. In addition, she's helped us with the Pound Ridge GIS mapping system. We also have tonight a team from team of native plants experts from Hilltop Hanover Farm and Environmental Center, which is an organization and farm dedicated to the development and advancement of sustainable agriculture, environmental stewardship, community education, and accessible food for all. So each will give a presentation, and then please stay for a question and answer session to answer all your urgent questions about protecting our seeds. And please sign up for our mailing lists. And I think most of the cookies are gone, but there are cookies. Thank you for coming. So I give you, who do I give you, Carrie?
I can't hear anything.
So you should click on the chat.
One person did send sound,
Oh.
but I'll say it again.
That coming from? That the Zoom. Okay. I can project, really. So a land acknowledgement acknowledges the first people.
There was somebody talking before. I've been somebody else who told me.
Need sound, please. Is she talking into the microphone?
She was. I turned it on now.
Okay.
Do you hear her?
When you walk away with loose sound, you are not projecting enough, cannot hear a word. She's got to talk closer.
Oh, okay. She's right in front of it.
And she walked away from it.
But that's coming from the Zoom, somebody said. They can't hear. Ah, all right. Now even I can hear myself. All right.
Perhaps it's
A
library
whole lot better.
meetings too.
So, well, the native,
We can't hear them.
it's still,
Yep.
they have to mute the Zoom people. And can you get this off of the, oh, look. All right. Maybe this is the last time I say I'll go first. But it doesn't help. No, I think we've got it. So the Native Americans, back to them for just a minute. You know, they were very particularly connected to the land. They really believed that everything around them was spiritual, had spirits, the seeds included, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. But I did want to kind of connect to that. And here we go. In making this very broken up and awkward acknowledgement, I really do hope that it helps us think about our relationship to the land upon which we live, and that we may deepen an ethic of care for the environment and humanity, and promoting a welcoming, diverse community. That's what a land acknowledgement is really all about. Can you move it forward? So, seed saving. Seed saving's been going on for a very long time, for thousands of years. When the early people, when our ancestors discovered and came to understand the mysteries of seeds and the power of seeds, we could go from being a nomadic society to agricultural societies, and in fact, developed societies and civilization. And seeds, anytime people have moved, seeds were very, very important to bring along with them, right? In pockets, in letters, in trunks underneath the wagon seat of the Conestoga. You brought your seeds because that's what was going to keep you alive, right? Even now, as we go explore into space, it's a huge question of how are we going to feed people in space? And so the raising of those seeds continues to be a huge and important challenge. Okay. This is close to a disaster for me. There we go. So seeds have some pretty basic parts to them. They've got a protective seed coat. They have the embryo, which consists usually of a root and the early leaves. But most importantly, it contains the genetic material in it. And those bundles of genes, okay, contain the messages that is going to keep the seed alive. And in that DNA, okay, are the stories and methods of survival. There's more in those genes than really meets the electron microscope. There's thousands of years of information packed in a seed: flavor, color, diversity, culture, celebration. Seeds represent an untapped natural resource that still is outside our imagination, full of potential medicines and medical treatments. Even today, a full 40% of the drugs behind the pharmacist counter in the Western world are derived from plants that people have used for centuries, including the 20 best-selling prescription drugs in the United States. My friend Daniel Atha, who recently retired from NYBG, would be sent around the world to look for plants. And he told me at one time that part of one mission was to look for a very ordinary wildflower in a different region of the United States for its potential in curing childhood leukemia. Okay? It just continues to be a source of incredible importance to all of us. Oh dear, they're not getting it on the Zoom. You're very thank you. Trying to think what the next slide is so I can ad lib, but I can't. So I taught middle school, and a technology glitch is like a nightmare in a middle school classroom. You, on the other hand, are wonderful. Even complimenting me. Is this truly the next slide? Let me just see. All right. I think we skipped one. Let me just go back. Catch my breath. If I could figure out how to make it go back. Yes, yes, I know. Yeah, that worked. All right. So all of that is in the seeds. The other thing that's so important too is all of this has co-evolved. So here where we are in New York, the plants have co-evolved with the environment, with the fauna also since the glaciers, so about 10,000 years, right? And there are just incredible stories of these interrelationships. So, for example, if you look in the far, whatever corner that is, it's skunk cabbage early in the spring with the snow around it. The skunk cabbage actually warms up that little spot in the habitat and actually melts the snow and becomes one of the first sources of pollen for insects, okay? They have a very tight relationship that way. Then we have black-eyed Susans, okay, with a painted lady butterfly on it. The black-eyed Susan has that perfect landing spot, okay? It's like an airport terminal to a butterfly. And then over in the lower corner is the columbine. All of these are natives. They're all local to the Northeast. The columbine blooms just in time for the hummingbirds to arrive in our area after their long migration. And the shape of the columbine flower is perfect for the hummingbird's long beak and long tongue to reach in there and get the nectar. So they have a very, co-evolved in that relationship. And then the final little example I have is the the Canadian, we can say Canadian, but it's in New York too, Canadian ginger in our woodlands, okay, which is usually underneath these little heart-shaped leaves. And it's sort of like a little brown jug, okay? The color of meat, red meat. I think it smells like decaying meat, but I'm not 100% sure on that because I didn't stick my nose down there. And it attracts the beetles that are attracted to decaying meat. So again, these kind of co-evolved relationships, a lot of it has to do with the flower is actually co-opting the insects to pollinate them, to carry the pollen from one plant to another plant, okay, of the same species, of course. But they're doing with fragrances or nectar or color or all of those kinds of things, okay? That's part of what we need to be preserving. Let's try one of these forward arrows. That worked. Yay, okay. So all of this builds together to form the complex webs of an area. Okay, so when we talk about preserving some of the native species, we're talking not just about preserving that one species, we're talking about preserving those relationships. And then it becomes more and more complex, okay? That's part of what's going on. Ooh, now my mouth is dry. I'm a wreck. So what I wanted to talk about is the seed library. Okay, so here in the library we have a very special collection. You know, libraries are composed of the collections, the mystery books, and the this and the that, right? Well, we have a collection of seeds, and it's the local and heirloom seed collection. We established it in 2022. Oh, thank you. Okay. Like anything in the library, you can borrow it. These seeds can be borrowed. So the question is, how can seeds be borrowed? Well, the basic idea is to borrow those seeds, plant those seeds, which you'll be learning more about tonight, and then let some of them go to seed, collect those seeds, what I started talking about at the beginning, okay, and then bring those back to the library. So in a way, our library should be self-sustaining. It's not yet. It's a very, very noble goal to have people collect the seeds and save them. But I think we will get there. I am an optimist, okay? So nobody gets in trouble for not returning the seeds. We want you to learn. We want you to have fun. We want you to try it and not be intimidated. If you think, well, I can't do that because I'd fail. Well, then we're never going to get anybody collecting and saving the seeds. So we want you to have the courage to try it and get there with us. So I want to talk first about what's not in our library. So these are the kinds of seeds that are not in the library. I don't even know what all of this means. I don't know what a utility patent is. I know what a patent is, but that's as far as it gets. Patent variety protected, certified seed, registered seed, foundation seed, phyto-inspected seed, I don't know. But we're not legally allowed to give those seeds away and save them and harvest them and collect them. So we don't, okay? They're not in our collection. The other kinds of seeds that are not in our collection are hybrid seeds. Well, a hybrid seed is a cross between two closely related plants. Okay, and then you come up with a hybrid. But if you cross the hybrid will not generate anything like it, okay? If you remember going back to genetics and Mendel's peas, remember Mendel would cross red peas and he would cross white peas and he would get pink peas. And then if he crossed the pink ones, he would get red ones and he would get white ones. And you didn't know what you were going to get. Well, yes, you did. If you figured out the statistics, you could figure that out, right? But hybrid seeds don't cross true to anything, right? And genetically modified seeds are not part of a collection either, right? And also, we don't want seeds from the grocery store, certainly not from noxious weeds and invasive plants. So those are the things that are not part of our collection. So what is part of the collection are the local and heirloom seeds. Local seeds refers to the native plants, like the black-eyed Susans and asters that are blooming right now, and common milkweed. These seeds have been multiplying on their own for years. A native species is a plant or an animal that's part of the balance of nature and has developed over hundreds or thousands of years in a particular region. I'm going to leave it to our next speakers to give you more defining of that, okay? The native plants, as we were talking about before, are the start of the food chains. They capture the energy of the sun and convert the sugars to sugars, and those sugars, okay, are found in the nectar and used by the pollinators, like the hummingbirds and the bees, bats, butterflies, moths, and the sugars are converted into the leaves and nuts and seeds and fruits and eaten by other forms of wildlife, okay? Our local native plants, they look like they belong here because they do. They become part of our definition of place, right? Our dogwoods, pussy willows, black-eyed Susans, the oak trees. Okay, the heirloom seeds in the collection refer to the vegetables and herbs and flowers that have been grown out and open pollinated and saved, okay, maybe for 50 years or more. Heirloom seeds are typically open pollinated by the wind and insects and birds, or sometimes the gardener with Q-tip will pollinate from one to another. And then those seeds are collected from one year to another and produce plants with most of the characteristics of the plant, of the parent plant, okay? Those are the seeds that we want in our collection. Now, by planting our seeds and saving some and returning seeds to our collection, okay, then what we are doing is we are helping the plants adapt and continue to adapt to Pound Ridge. We're also protecting seeds from being patented and not allowed to be saved and collected and traded. That's been happening by the big companies, okay? And it's a real problem for the farmers, mainly our big farmers, not so much in the Northeast. But when we collect our own seeds, our own heirloom seeds, and preserve our own heirloom seeds, we're preventing that from becoming patented material. Does that make sense? The other thing that we're doing is helping the local evolution, the process, helping the process to continue. Sometimes it's very, very slow. Sometimes it's very fast. There's a mutation that just happens. And helping that process to continue will help in terms of adapting to climate change. So those are big, big goals. So that's why we can be patient, I think, with our collection and, you know, and people learning what it's about and developing the skills on how do you grow these seeds, raise these plants, collect the seeds, and bring some back to the library, because the big goals are really important, right? Crazy idea though, right? Little nuts, I have to admit, but at least it's healthy nuts. So, if you remember, some of you have been to we've had winter sewing workshops. Barbara Gerson has led a lot of those. You're going to be talking about that. Yeah. And I figured that, so I wasn't going to go into it. And I'm just about ready to wrap up. There is the little seed library. It's right at the front door in an old-fashioned card catalog box. And the picture here are some of the people, Emily, who's here in the audience with us, and a lot of these people are on Zoom, are the people that have been behind organizing the library. And I thank them very much, wanted to acknowledge their help and encourage anybody else who wants to join us in doing some of the maintenance for the library. It's not a lot. In January, we order you can order heirloom seeds from seed catalogs, and we do. And so some of the seeds that we put into our seed library to kick it off are heirloom seeds that have been raised by seed companies. And so we order in January, and then we sort the seeds into smaller packages that people are able to take. We have people who donate seeds to us from the native gardens. We go out and we collect some of those seeds now. This time of year, we're collecting, and then just harvest them and let them dry. And then we put them into smaller packages. And it takes us maybe 3 Saturday mornings, maybe 4 Saturday mornings. So if you're interested in helping, I would really appreciate that. And I'll pass a clipboard around. And if you'll put your name and very, very legibly your email address, that would be helpful. Okay, I'll check for the legibility. And now I'm going to turn it over to Emily and Lindsay, or back to Pamela. Are you going to introduce them, or do we do that? Okay. So thank you for being amazing. Okay. Not middle schoolers.
Thank you so much, Carrie. That was great. And I just want to mention the propagation that Barbara, I saw you on there. This year, I'm not going to be away in January, and I will help you with that. And we'll be there for that. And we donated seeds tonight for the seed library. So whoever's Carrie will give them to you. Anyway, so now we have to get our PowerPoint on. I'm Emily Rausch, and I am the Native Plant Program Manager at Hilltop Hanover Farm, and Lindsay Feinberg is the Native Plant Curator there. And the reason why we're talking tonight, not only is Hilltop one of Westchester County parks, but we both live in Pound Ridge. I'm a 22-year resident, and Lindsay's a 2-year resident. So that's why we said, of course, we're going to talk to you guys. It's our town. So anyway, there's our emails. We're going to do questions at the end, but you could email us with anything you'd like to ask afterwards. And then, I need the fast forward, the clicker. And if we could get the thing down. Okay. So first, I'm going to just tell you about the native seed program we're doing at Hilltop. And then Lindsay, and a lot of the stuff Carrie just went over, so we'll reiterate it. And then Lindsay is going to talk about some wild collection protocols. Lindsay is our field botanist, and she knows that actually Pound Ridge, all the preserves really well and where all the plants are. No, now not me.
Sorry, now I'm trying to get rid of this.
Can I not forward it with you doing it?
I think you can. Oops. Okay. I'm trying to hide the start thing.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay. Never mind. Okay.
That's okay.
Oh, I can press for you.
Okay, because I don't know if this is working. It worked before. Okay, So Hilltop Hanover Farm It's a Westchester County park, like I said, but it's a working farm. And then we do a lot of donation, 10%, it says food donation, but actually a lot of the times it's up to 25%. We donate seeds, plants, native plants, and food to our local shelters. It's a full working farm. If nobody's been there, you should go. It's really a beautiful site. It's only a half-hour door-to-door from here. Also, we have been growing native seed plots on the farm. This is our 5th year in production. We started 5 years ago with 3 species, and we're up to almost 30 species in the field. But we're going to scale back because it's too much. There's not enough people. But anyway, let's see the next slide. Those are some of our plots, but we'll see them. Lindsay, are you going to do? Because I can't do it. It's not. Okay. So this is what Carrie touched on before, why we're growing native seeds and why we use native plants in the landscape. They provide food for insects, and they've co-evolved for a long time, and they're codependent with each other. And so if we don't have our native plants in the landscape, then we don't have our native insects, because a lot of them are specialists and they need them to eat. And I think she dragged it down last time. Oh, Jennifer dragged it. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's like right in the middle. Okay. So anyway, not only do we grow local plants and from our seeds, but they're they're from Ecoregion 59. Now, I don't know if any of you know the ecoregions, but the EPA actually broke up the United States into different regions for various reasons. They looked at the soils, geology, climate, precipitation, and they just thought it was easier to show that the plants, that's where they're from, that's where they grow well. And the great thing about local ecotype plants is they're going to grow where they're from. They're just going to do better in your garden and in your landscape. And I don't know if we can go on. Do you want to go on to the ecoregion? Is that easy to do here?
I'll try it.
If not, has anyone seen the ecoregion map? It's actually really cool. Yeah, so we're ecoregion 59, which is the northeastern coastal zone, which is along the water. And it actually goes up along, you could see the green, we're over here, 59, and it goes up through the Hudson River. And it's because of all the same, Lindsay's better at like
it's so the northeastern coastal zone, it's coastal. So it really it's the Hudson River going up to Saratoga, where it's affected by the tide. So you get a high tide, low tide. And up to Newburgh, it's salty, or like it gets less and less salty, but you still get very similar habitats along the river. And it's interesting too, because if you're like on either side, it's like the same plants that just, that's kind of cool. Okay.
So if you bring ecotypic plants into your landscape, they're just going to do better because they're used to that. Everything. You could just click on the top thing. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's what we're growing on the farm, are ecotypic seeds and plants. Now, biodiversity, I just always put this in every slide because I think people don't understand. Not only is biodiversity means like different species together and insects and animals and plants, but also different plants. And then within a species, you can have genetic diversity. So if you see up in the right are the irises that we grow on the farm. Because we start out with genetically diverse seeds, they are all different colors. And that's what we're looking for. We want everything to be different. And we're going to talk more about genetic diversity later. So we could go forward. Thank you. So, okay, why grow from seed? Because of the genetic diversity. We want genetic diversity because when you buy a plant, a lot of the times from nurseries or from big box stores, most of those plants are grown from tissue culture or cuttings, and they're the same genetics as the parent plant. So if you have 1,000 plants at Home Depot from one genetics, it goes out into the landscape, climate change, something happens with the climate, and that plant, that genetics doesn't do well, 1,000 plants aren't going to do well. But if you grow from seed, then each seed has different genetics, and hopefully some of those plants you put back into the landscape will like the new climate and like the new precipitation and the new weather. So right here we have, that's one of our wild collections, and we go out. Lindsay's going to talk a lot about the protocols that we use, but I just wanted you to see a picture of what it's like. And then, oh, I have the Irish potato famine was the famous. Anyway, what's the goal? Increase resilience in the landscape with climate change and different weather patterns. We want some of these plants to survive. More genetic diversity is more resilience, and we propagate those plants from the seeds. So this is our seed program, and it's people call it the Living Seed Bank. They're called seed increase plots, and each plot we start. I'll just quickly go over how it starts, but Lindsay goes out and wild collects amongst our parks, and then also our partners. So we're partners with like New York State Parks and where else? Everywhere. Where? A lot of county parks. How many acres of the county parks do we have? 18,000 acres. So Lindsay knows a lot of, if you have any questions about the parks, ask Lindsay. Anyway, so she goes out and we don't just do it in a vacuum. We're part of the Northeast Seed Network, and there's a whole committee of specialists and scientists that it's a species selection committee, and Lindsay is on it, and they all together determine what species we should all be growing. And so it depends on, like, maybe there's an insect that they want to grow, make sure we grow seed that we have a plant to protect that insect, or is it easy to grow, or do we need more wetland species? So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's not just us. The Northeast Seed Network has, they're all experts from Native Plant Trust, New York Botanic Garden, a lot of different people. So anyway, so that's how we decide what to put, what we're growing. And then each plot has 200 plants for the genetic diversity. And then you'll see the Joe Pye here on the left has all different colors, and they're all different heights. And it's really cool to see actually when they're all together like that. Yeah. No, we grow actually, we're going to do some seed in the field because we think some of the annuals might be easier to grow in the field. But we grow Lindsay collects the seed, we bring it back, we clean it, store it. Then in the spring, we grow the plugs out. And then next fall, we plant the plugs into the landscape. And we're actually doing 4 new wetland species that are obligate wet. So I don't know if anyone's grown wetland species for seed yet. So we're going to see how it goes. We're going to flood it, see if it works. Anyway, let's go to the next slide. So part of the reason we're doing this is there's a call to grow native seed in the country. It's the National Seed Strategy. And they really are saying that for when there's a disturbance in the landscape, people have just been getting seed from wherever they can get it. And a lot of the times the big growers are out west. So when they're restoring areas in this area with seed anyway, they're just getting it from everywhere, and there's no growers here. So everybody started getting together, and we formed a network, and we have a hyper local network that's part of the Northeast Seed Network that's called Local 59. So if you go on our website, we can like give you, I think I don't know if they have a website yet, but we can send out newsletters. We're starting to send out newsletters. But anyway, we're all working together to get farms to grow the seed locally. So this just kind of says, like, why grow it on a farm? What benefit is it? Not only do we need it for restoration, but also it improves erosion control, water quality. It's another crop that a farm can grow, that they can grow for production, brings insects onto the farm to pollinate and for the beneficial insects, and just helps build habitat on the farm also. And this is, that picture just sort of shows like what we do. So there's one plot, then in the fall, I'm sorry, sorry. In the fall, no, I don't need anyone. In the fall, we harvest, which we're doing now. Today with our volunteer group, we actually just took down an entire plot of Pigmentum tenuifolium. So we'll cut down the seed heads, dry them out and they finish maturing throughout the winter. And then we seed clean them. And then that's what you have at the end. And so, okay, next slide. Okay, so now Lindsay is going to start talking about the wild collection aspect of this. And if you, I'm sure there's questions you can ask later afterwards.
Okay, so my name is Lindsay. I just started working at Hilltop like almost two years ago. Third season. So my background is plants, wild seed collection. I started in like 2015 after Hurricane Sandy. I was an intern for this program called the Seeds of Success program. It's they're part of the people that developed the national seed strategy. So the first thing you learn is this really intense like protocol about how you should go about collecting seeds for ecological restoration. So there's a lot that goes into it because you want to preserve all that genetic diversity. There's been a lot of studies done on how to go about doing this. So first, you want to find a really big population. I mean, it doesn't have to be like huge, but you want to see it. I think Emily, there was a good picture. This is all little blue stem. This is in Ward Pound Ridge Reservation. If any of you go there often, I do. But this little blue stem goes for like acres and acres and acres, and it's probably a lot more than 250 plants. So you want to have a healthy population so that you can easily collect from at least 50 individuals, and that's the minimum. That's the minimum in order to preserve like all the special mutations within each little seed package. So I think it captures like 95% of all the genetic diversity if it's 50 plants minimum. That said, if you have species that like self-pollinate, you want to collect for more. So I like to at least get up to like 100. But you don't want to have to think too hard because you really can only collect, for us, we do 20%, but this is the rule of thumb I tell other people. Because, you know, our plants we do a lot with the seed. So, and we just have, anyway. So if you do want to go out and collect seeds, you should, you can't really do it at other parks. You need permission here. It's difficult in the Northeast because we're in a very fragmented landscape. Out west, there's a lot less like, there's a lot less strict policies because there's just a lot more open land. So that's why you want to mostly find the biggest population, just so you don't have to worry. You don't want to have to think so much about that 20% number in your head. So I'm just going to go into like how you would do it on your own. I think it's really fun, all the magical ways that native seeds disperse. This is actually, I don't even know all these terms, but some of them are like this one, and by wind. So this is a special like beach grass. I don't know the common name, but it's got a long fancy name. But they have these like 3 little awns or hairs that help it like twist around like a little helicopter. And then when it hits the ground, it also like drills into the ground. So they've actually like designed some special device that looks like this to attach onto seeds to help it drill into the ground on its own. And then this is our wild geranium. It's a cute little woodland plant mostly, but it can grow in full sun. And this is kind of this is a good way to see how it's like mature. So here it's like green, and then as it like dries down, this little thing splits and then it flings the seeds and like very far. Oops. So it's just like, you have to be certain seed species, you have to be really fast because there's a pretty short window. This is the ants. This little white tissue here is called an elizome, and the ants come and they'll actually like open up the little bloodroot seeds and they'll be crawling in, and they take this to their nest and it just germinates after they eat this little tissue. So a lot of the other spring ephemerals have this, like, what's the other one that you really like, that plant? It's the yellow one. I don't know. I can't remember. No, I keep thinking Dutchman's breeches. Is that, yeah. So seed maturity, this is really important because you want to make sure you have a fully developed embryo before you take the seeds. So I always, when I'm in the field, I like always do a cut test, which really you can just like either slice open like a pod like this and sorry.
And what?
And if you see that it's, not dark, then it's usually obviously not ready. Here you want a dark color. I think this is really interesting. So other ways you can tell if seeds are mature is by like the direction that the pod is in. So this is a violet. It's not ready here, but then the violet pod starts to move upwards and then it pops. So a lot of it has to do, when a seed is mature, it dries, and that's what kind of creates these cool like little popping things. Just like, because you're losing water content. So I like to, especially for like beans, to see if it's like rattling. But that's important. So one thing we talked about, this is a little seed library here, and you can store the seeds in that cute little library card catalog that I really want one of those. But there are some seeds that you cannot store for very long. 93% of all species are orthodox seeds, meaning you can dry down the seeds to a very low water content and they can be stored indefinitely if they're frozen. So like if you guys have heard of the Svalbard seed bank in Greenland, is it in Greenland? Norway. So that they keep their temperature at a very, very low, so that they're just like frozen and dormant. But there are, and 7% of seeds that are recalcitrant, which means that they can't handle being dried. The embryos will die. So those species include willows, aspens, cottonwoods, pretty much all the spring ephemerals, except for like a few, but for the most part, they are recalcitrant. Cattails, wild rice, some like beach grass, and then every type of nut. If you want to grow if you want to grow a hazelnut, you would have to sow it right away or like put it in the fridge until you can. Otherwise, I've had people like offer me acorns before that they've like kept on their like in their house, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't take those. But you should eat them. So this is similar to what Emily was talking about, where we lay out everything to dry. You want to get it to that special like 27 to 20% water content. So you don't want to like keep it in an old stuffy bag. It's good to like lay them all out. And that way, and also because like insects are often, I mean, that's what we want the native plants for. So if you see insects in your seeds, that's a good thing. But you don't want them to eat all your seeds. So when you open it up right away, they have a chance to crawl out. Emily was like covered in bugs the other day because of this. We had this one grass that they were just all crawling out of her bag. So
They didn't like the sun, actually. They were coming out.
Yeah, so sometimes we do leave our bags out in the sun for like an hour or two because they'll all come crawling out. So also why like we clean our seeds. Why is that important? Because we want to store them for at least a few years, and cleaning the seed helps like cut down on mold, any pathogens. And if you were to collect seeds from your own yard and you want to just sow it that year, like you don't have to do this yourself. And even like 2 years is okay. But the longer you want to store seeds, the more clean they should be. And my boots are clean here. So the seed cleaning process is pretty tedious, but here's some of our volunteers, and these are our interns. But a lot of it is really just like mashing up the seed and then winnowing it with these little screens to get all the chaff out. We do have machines now that help a lot. So I still do this for the smaller wild collections. Okay, so these are a few great resources. This is the Seeds of Success, and you could really like just Google Seeds of Success and this will be the first link that comes up. This is the protocol. It can be kind of tech heavy. Actually, all of these are kind of tech heavy, but I really like the Wild Seed Project. These are 2 really good books that apparently got really expensive recently because they're out of print, but I still recommend them.
They are really good.
But if you want to know how to like propagate or like, because native plants need a kind of special treatment, like just you would have to mimic nature. Like seeds are in the environment before they germinate. They need a cold, moist period, most of them. So that kind of tells you what to do in order to get them to germinate. And yeah, that's about it. You can look up this website and it'll give you like every plant. But and you can get these for free. This book is really pretty cool. It has like all the information like to propagate, to store for every single woody genus in the US. It's like 600 pages long, but it's
really great.
Cool.
Actually, when Lindsay ordered it, we were all like,
yeah,
cool
so
book.
you can just go to like their publication, request the copies. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think we probably went over the time. I don't even know what time it is. 8:30. Okay. Yeah. So I guess, are we staying up here for questions? Yeah, I think there's a question session. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And then I don't know if there's any Zoom questions. Okay. Yes.
What is an heirloom seed? Why do they call it an heirloom seed?
Oh, where did Carrie go? Oh, for vegetables? Yeah. I mean, I could take a stab at it. Yeah. Yes.
But basically an heirloom seed is one that's been saved repeatedly and shared over and over again.
And vegetable seeds are bred to be the same every single time. When the wild seeds, we want them to be wild, but the heirlooms are over lots and lots of years, hundreds of years, the heirlooms. Right, Karen? Right. What?
You can get some heirloom seeds in the store, and they're labeled. different seed companies sell heirlooms. What's the Hudson Valley that has
Actually,
the
a
very
note,
beautiful
yeah.
seed packages? Most of theirs are heirloom seeds.
Just a note on that too, is that it's not just heirloom seeds, which are great to use for vegetable. I'm a vegetable grower too, but I like to get seeds that are adapted to this region. So a lot of the times when you're buying seeds, even from seed companies like Hudson Valley Seed Company, which is a great company, and I use their seeds all the time, they will have on their website, if you want to buy seeds that are grown out at their facility in Hudson Valley, or if you don't care where they come from, because they could be coming from Oregon or somewhere else. So I think it's important that if you want them to do well in your garden here, that they've been adapted to this region. I just think they grow better.
Right. I think that's one of the things that we've learned kind of recently, even when it comes to trees and shrubs, that buying that closer to home is better. Mail ordering, I've in the past, I've bought stuff from the Midwest, I've bought stuff from the South. But what they are finding is the local adaptation means that they're not quite as hardy here. And the opposite would be true. Our plants wouldn't be quite as hardy in Virginia, further south. So.
Yeah, they get confused.
Yeah, they get all confused. They got these little genetic things going on in there, right? Little switches.
Yes, Ellen. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Let Melinda give you the speaker.
Quickie, when you collect seeds in the field, do you put them in plastic bags? Is that how you?
I did have a slide on all the materials I use, but I took it out for time.
I was just curious.
What I usually use are those for the dry Orthodox seeds, are just those like yellow envelopes with the clasps. For the most part, I do have like some muslin bags, like little cotton drawstring.
Paper or
you want
kind of stuff.
Yeah, you want something breathable so it doesn't like because you want it to be dry. That's the most important part. But for fruits and nuts, then I use a plastic bag. Yes.
Oh, and also when you store the seeds that don't want to dry out in plastic bags in the fridge, how do you prevent them from becoming moldy?
So for fruits, you have to clean them, which we use a cheap blender that I wrapped the blades in duct tape so it doesn't cut the seed. Or you can like ferment them. But you basically just have to like mash the pulp up, and you need those little winnow, we have like sieves. We have a bunch of different shapes and sizes. So then you just like run it through water over and over. And there's a cool, to get all the junk off, the last bit, you get like a big bowl of water, and then you fill up everything with you have an empty bowl, and then you have all the seeds and the chaff, and it's all wet, and you fill that up with water, and you swirl it, and then you pour it into the other bowl, and then all the good seeds like sink down and they stay in that first bowl, and then all the chaff comes out of you pour it off.
So for example, what type of seed would you do that with?
So for all fruits, like blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, yeah, pretty much any fleshy fruit, except ones that float, like the wild roses, you shouldn't clean that way because it all floats to the top. But most seeds will sink if they're viable. Did that answer your question? Didn't mean to go off into tangent, but
Could you talk a little about seed dormancy? How do you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think different plant families have different techniques. On the whole, the rule of thumb is most seeds go dormant when they dry. But again, there are actually, the dormancy types a little bit better than me.
So when you're growing an vegetable seed, you're going to germinate it and it's going to grow in summer in nice conditions. If it's starting towards like the fall, when the native seeds are going to be mature, if they drop on the ground, it's a warm sunny day and it rains and it's perfect condition to grow like you would a vegetable. If the vegetable grows and then all of a sudden gets cold, that's going to die. The plant. It's not meant to make it through the winter. So our native seeds drop to the ground and they're used to the cold and they know, okay, it's cold now, we're not going to germinate, because if we germinate, we're not going to live. So they wait and they're dormant until the spring, and each seed has different inside. They all know when they're supposed to, what temperature, what moisture they need to germinate. So everything's inside the seed. It's all genetically in there. So our native seeds stay dormant through the winter. So they know it's a survival mechanism. And so then we try to crack the code. So as propagators, we try and force germination and pretend we're nature. And we will talk about that in the propagation class, like in January. There's a lot to it. We mimic winter conditions.
But for the difficult stuff like viburnums or spring ephemerals, we just sow them outside.
Yeah,
because
they take a long time.
Yeah, they can. A lot of times, if it doesn't germinate the first year, you just keep it, and then it might. Viburnums take about 3 years to germinate. So, and some people are like, "Oh, I had bad luck and I threw my seeds away." Don't do that.
Yeah, no. And then we did the opaca, the holly, the American holly. We kept in March stratification for 365 days. And then we kept forgetting about it. We're like, where's the holly? And we found it. And then it all germinated.
I knew where it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew where it was. But we did forget about it once in a while.
And I was like so scared that it was like moldy, but no, and it all germinated this past spring. So it's pretty excited. It's 2 year.
So they each has a different germination requirement. And actually some of the resources that were up there have the germination codes.
Yeah. Prairie Moon has a lot of them, and the seed information database from Society of Ecological Restoration has a lot too. Like a lot of people study it, so there is some information. Some is like people don't know, so it's a fun game. Like 70 degrees. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My question is, this might be kind of
Turn it on.
Hello, there
Yes.
it is. This might be a stupid question, but
No,
what exactly triggers plants to go to seed? Is it photoperiod or is it temperature?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. One, I think they have to get fertilized. And then I think they just develop temperature, then photoperiod.
So like the drought year 2 years ago,
Sure.
you remember? Everything went to seed really early because the plants, like, I'm not going to use my resources creating seed anymore. And a lot of seed wasn't bio actually. So temperature, precipitation, how the summer went, I think.
Yeah, just the environmental conditions. I don't know. I'm like plant hormones.
Yeah. Plant hormones. Yeah.
But I think it just. Do you mean like what signifies it to like start making seeds or like?
Or to release.
Okay. Yeah. It's so when it's like still developing, that it has like really high water content. So some and you'll see it's like greener versus like the seeds that are mature, which are like darker and tend to be a little bit smaller. But it's similar to how like leaves cut their leaves off. So the plant stops giving water to the seed at a certain point once the embryo is all fully developed. It just cuts the water off and it slowly dries.
Yeah, the parent plant slowly stops giving water, and that's the abscission so more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
And then there's after ripening too, which the seeds still ripen after.
The seeds that take a really long time to germinate, like the viburnums, they're still developing, and it takes like 2 years to, because it has to develop.
Is there anyone on the Zoom question? No? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We can share that. And then also just to let you know, I'm yelling, I did bring lots of seeds that we have in the back of the seed to read up the seed library, and I have little packets if anybody wants it.
And all those are just 2 months cold, moist.
Yeah, normal. Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to learn more, you can take Emily's class.
Yeah. I have a question. On a small scale, so for example, my yard, which is a couple acres, and I'm restoring a woodland area and a meadow area and starting from like dirt and invasives. Is there any principle for collecting and propagating what little bits of plants that I do get from Hilltop? And, is there a strategy that you could suggest? Because I think it might be different than the large scale stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I did specify for restoration. If you're just collecting from your yard, I would say like it's probably a good idea to collect from at least 10 plants. And you don't have to collect a lot. Like you can just collect like a little, like that package size. And I think so, because those plants are surviving in your yard. But sometimes you don't even have to. Like there's certain species, like I have that, you might want the nicer ones and the less weedy ones, but there's like jump seed that grows everywhere. It's a little native knotweed. And I didn't do anything. I just kind of like I just sort of like threw the seed around and it pops up, but not all species will do that. But it's also fun. I think it's a good way to learn about your plants.
So when I'm storing the back of our property, and if you just leave it to reseed, they'll seed themselves all over the property. So there are plants all over my property that weren't there when I moved in, but I put tons of plants in myself. They're seeding it, and so they will seed themselves.
If you keep the invasives away.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, but they do seed themselves.
But if you wanted to kind of maximize that, so you need a lot of plant material, then would you want to collect the seeds and
you can collect some and move them around when around too. Yeah, they pop up.
I'm really bad at not doing anything.
Yeah, no. I'm telling you that it happened on its own. But yes, you can help it. Yeah. Yeah, we usually do one at the farm and then here. Yeah. Yeah, to move them.
Will have to pot them up before you can plant them, which I think is the hard part. Just like if you do grow vegetables, you have to like there'll be little seedlings and then you have to like put them in a bigger pot. So if you don't want to do that.
And then actually we're all, telling everyone planting is great, which it is, but there's been no rain. So it's been tough this year.
Yeah. But it's still good. You would have to water, but they won't it maximizes the survival for most plants because they're not trying to put roots down and foliage out at the same time. They're just focusing on roots. But then some species like warm season grasses don't always like it, but most part, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. The medium that you taught them in, do you ever take some of the soil from the areas that you've collected them from as part of that medium? Or how forgiving are they about putting them in the kind of medium that they're not used to?
So most, especially like the early, like sun loving plants they don't really care. There are a few difficult species like some legumes and that really, I don't know if it's like the micro, whatever the fungus that lives there, but, or like they really want super acid soil. I've never tried that, but I have considered it for a few species. So I will get back to you.
Population of local soil. We're going to try.
There was a study where they grew out the like fungi that they got from their soil sample and then like inoculated it. But we're not going to do that. I would just do what you did. Take some soil. And it did increase success.
Yes, you can. We actually had a couple of weeks ago. We have a farm and we do grow plants. We're not really a nursery, but so we're actually trying to support the local nurseries and compete with them, and grow seed for them. And that's why part of the reason we're growing seed is to get them out to the nurseries to grow ecotypic plants.
But we do sell plants.
Yeah, we sell our leftover plants. Yeah. Earth tones, I would say earth tones is the original. They're amazing genetic plants from there. Tiny Meadow Farm local, and then Wild Gardens Nursery. Yeah, where else? Hard Scrabble's gonna have some also for the landscaping industry, because we grew plugs for them to grow up.
Is Planter's Choice?
Planter's Choice in Connecticut.
No.
Oh, I think there's one up at Treadlight Farm is one of our plants now too in Hudson Valley, and they do plugs and ecotypic and regional plants.
Not all their seeds are plants are
not
ecotypic,
all,
but
they're trying to move to. Yeah.
This might get a little deep. In your opinion, what is the biggest threat to our native plants in this area?
Deer.
In terms of like loss of biodiversity, is it climate change? Is it invasive species?
Invasive urbanization.
Okay.
Yeah, and
urbanization. Yeah.
I mean, I think invasives are really obviously that's a major one. I mean, climate change isn't helping the new pests and pathogens. Obviously, I know you work at the land trust, so I'm sure you see that does get hard. But
deer management, we'll talk about why put plants in the deer.
Lack of fire.
Yeah.
Fire suppression for our region.
Well, has the county experimented with any prescribed burning? Now we're not talking about seeds. So.
I'm pushing for it.
He's gonna do the fire.
It's hard here because it's obviously I mean, we don't have big parks. I think Ward Pound Ridge would be the first place we would try it in like the open meadow. and just very small, but not anytime soon.
I have a comment, and it is save the leaves, make a big pile of leaves. Yes, I've
Yes.
saved leaves for years. And this year I noticed that it was full of white streaks. And I think that's the good fungi. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And also then if you have lots of leaves, you can do lots of compost without it stinking.
Yes, leave the leaves. I believe that.
And then I think one of the biggest challenges is woodchucks, because they eat the whole plant, and also chipmunks because they eat all the seeds except for cardinal flower seeds, and pardon me? Oh, I have they are outside now, so but anyway, that was my comment.
Thank
you. Thank you all for coming.